Hi, it's Emily Miller, and I've got a new report out today on my Substack, emilypostnews.com, about House Democrats who are trying to pass a background check for ammunition. Not the guns, just the ammunition. They've got it tucked away in this report that's accompanying the appropriations bill that's moving through the House. It's on, I think, page 59 of 232, but I did find it. What they're saying is, this is what the House Democrats want, is they want a federal law so that anytime you buy ammunition, you have to get an FBI background check through the NICS system, just like you do for a gun. They're not stopping there. They also want to make it what's so-called universal background check, so that even if I sell a box of ammo to a friend for, say, $50, that would be against federal law. I would have to go to a dealer, pay to get a federal background check, wait for it, and then sell the ammo to my friend. Now, of course, people like you or me will actually do that because we don't want to go to jail and we don't want to be criminals. But do you really think that's going to stop crime? Do you really think criminals getting background checks for ammo are going to stop crime? I don't think so. And as I've said 1,000 times in the past 10 years that I've been covering gun control laws, not one gun control law has ever reduced gun crime. Not one. And I've debated these gun control activists on TV, on stage, on C-SPAN. You can go back and watch. They never have a response when I say that. So I'll say, tell me your gun control law that you've passed that's in action that has decreased gun crime. And they never have an answer. But we still pass them because we want to feel good about it. Well, here's the new one. And so I wrote about it today. Again, it's emilypostnews.com. Now, Gun Owners of America found this little snidgen that they hid in there. And they put it into an alert to the members of Congress, who is the Second Amendment supporters on the House, I should say. And they had the Gun Owners of America put out an alert. They put it on their website for what they are telling the House to look out for that is buried in some of these huge appropriations pork bills that are coming through Congress. Now, I will say, just as an aside, you've been hearing this week about the continuing resolution, CR. There's a government shutdown, supposedly, that's going to happen after September 30th if they don't have an agreement. So all the appropriations bills are held up. They do this every year. We always hear of a government shutdown. Personally, I can't even hear about government shutdowns anymore and care. They do it, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets back pay, and it's a big media story. But here we are again. And what they will do is they will pass a continuing resolution, and the question is, will the continuing resolution, and this is how it applies to gun control, end after the election, but before the new House is elected, which many are assuming are going to be a Republican-controlled House, or will it expire, then they get through their appropriations bills, because it's Democrat, House, Senate, and President. It's a little bit harder in the Senate. They're not as many anti-Second Amendment people. It probably would be harder, but this is something that could easily pass the House. And so it really depends on when this quote-unquote CR passes, the danger of it going through. But I still find it very tricky that they stuck this thing in there. I've never heard of a federal background check on ammunition, and I've been doing this for 10 years, so this is a new one to me, especially a universal one. The provision is hidden in the Commerce, Justice, Science, and related agencies appropriations bills for 2023. Very long thing. We call it the CJR around here. CJS? Actually, I don't know what we call it. There's an acronym for it. There's an acronym for everything in DC. So I called a bunch of members. I wanted to see who in the Senate, who in Congress was actually active on trying to get this thing out of this report. It's not actually in the bill. It's in a report that accompanies the bill, which will direct the funding. And it directs funding for the Government Accountability Office to spend money on 4 things, which I'll get to, and which are all about making a ammunition background check. So called around. And Representative Ben Cline from Virginia, super Second Amendment supporter. I talked to his press secretary. She said, let me check with him, see if I can get back to you. So she did, got back to me last night, gave me this quote and for my story and about his position on it. He said, we should not extend these background checks to the purchase of ammunition. Pretty simple there. More so, Congressman Cline told me, I was sent to Washington by my constituents to uphold and defend the Constitution, and we cannot allow these rights to be further stripped away. These types of onerous policies will create a false narrative and criminalize private gun ownership. So, if this bill gets passed, and I will actually finish what Cline said, because he's a strong supporter, so I want to make sure you hear everything he has to say. The Second Amendment is crystal clear. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. The Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution to protect us from the government, this is a congressman talking, which is pretty cool, and gave individuals the Second Amendment to protect themselves. So he totally gets it, and he's on this committee, this Commerce and Justice Committee. So what it does is it's funding these agencies, and he's on that subcommittee, so he's got eyes on this, which I think for those of us who are concerned about this bill know that he's watching it. So specifically, okay, so this is confusing. If you read my story, Gun Owners of America acronym is GOA, and we're talking about funding for the Government Accountability Office, whose acronym is GAO. And when I was writing this story, I was like, maybe I shouldn't even use their acronyms and just write out each one, because we're all going to get confused between GAO and GOA. So we'll just go with it. But if you did get confused while writing, that's why, because we have two acronyms that are almost exactly alike. So Gun Owners of America, great guys. So I talked to Aiden Johnston. He's their head of federal affairs. He's basically their chief lobbyist, and he's on the Hill, and he's the one who knows like the depths of these bills and how to find them and what they mean. He said to me, the appropriations packages are just pork, and Democrats often propose outrageous gun control measures in them, which is absolutely true. And that's why people like him dig through these to find them. And he said, he said this actually to me. I forgot this. I talked to him on the phone. It's left up to groups like us to highlight that to the public and to pro-Second Amendment representatives. So here's what the report says. And thanks to Aiden, I found it. The report says that unlike firearms federal laws, does not require a background check to prevent the illegal purchase of ammunition. There is no illegal purchase of ammunition. Well, let me explain this too. This is sort of, they have a point here. If you are banned from owning a gun, federal law, meaning you are a felon, you're a domestic abuser, you're a drug addict, you're an illegal alien, any of those categories we've talked about before on this channel, you also cannot possess ammunition. But this does not come up a lot. What it is usually an extra charge. When the cops catch someone with an illegal gun, they can add that on the ammo charge. This is not supposed to be affecting law-abiding citizens. It's really not a big crime to be buying ammunition. I mean, I should be holding one around here, but they're not lethal by themselves. Stand by. Well, I was sitting here thinking, why am I talking about ammo without even showing you ammo? In case you're not a gun owner or not familiar with it, here's a box. Winchester, this is what I use at the range. It's not self-defense ammo. And so here we go. This is what the Democrats want to regulate. You can throw it at me and hurt me, I suppose. You could, but this itself is not lethal, and it's really not scary. I have a bunch of these. They're very expensive and very hard to get these days, and I am a bit of a hoarder or prepper when it comes to it, but I do have a lot of these. I have some of the of course I have the self-defense one as well. But anyway, this is what we're discussing. I will hold on to this. And my phone. So anyway, we're talking about what the Democrats want to do in this bill is make you, when you go to the dealer to buy this, or Cabela's, or wherever you go to buy it, to get a federal background check on it. And that's the NICS system. The NICS system works fine for some of these things, like if you're a felon, it'll catch you. It doesn't really work for catching people who've been convicted of mental health issues or been involuntarily put into mental health institutions. Illegal aliens, it'll probably catch. It's not a perfect system. It works fine. There's a lot of, I know Gun Owners of America actually oppose the NICS system completely. Different gun groups have different positions on it. They say that there's just too many false negatives, that you are stopped from buying a gun and you're delayed from buying your gun because your name comes up like Emily Miller would come up. I've never had it happen to me, but that kind of thing. There are 4 things in this bill that they are asking the Government Accountability Office to look at. Number 1 is how best to implement a requirement that background checks be conducted for all ammunition sales, including sales by federal firearms licensees and private sellers. The key word there is private sellers. This is what makes it a quote-unquote universal background check. This is something that President Obama, Biden, both of them actually is true, but really President Biden keeps talking about, you hear Nancy Pelosi talking about all the time, this universal background check for guns. They really want that. They want that every time you buy or sell a gun between 2 Americans who are law-abiding, who are family, who are friends, that you go to a gun store and you go to a license and you get it checked. This is law in a lot of states. I think California, I think Colorado, Connecticut, that it is law. I am 100% sure that no criminal who is selling a gun on the street has ever gone into a gun store to get a gun, to get it checked and get it stopped. 100% sure. If you can find one, send it to me, leave it in the comments. If you find one criminal who wanted to sell his gun on the street, stopped himself, went to a federal licensed dealer, got a NICS check, found out that he was a felon, and then couldn't sell it to his friend, let me know. Because then we will be solving crimes. And that would be the purpose of new legislation from Congress. But I don't think you're going to find it. Anyway, now they want to do it for ammo, which is even more ridiculous because I could absolutely sell this to a friend. We all know how hard, those of us who are gun owners know how hard it is to get ammo these days. I could sell this to a friend. I am absolutely not going to go get this checked by the FBI, the person, if I know them. It's a completely unrealistic law, but it will affect private citizens. Then the second part of it is, I'm skipping down a little bit, my story, of course, just go and read the whole story with all the details if you'd like. The federal background check on ammo, the Democrats in this bill say whether and if, so to include any funding requirement if they've increased funding for NICS, NICS is the National Criminal Background Check System that was created under the Brady bill, would be expanded to include a federal background check requirement for ammunition purposes. So this is spending money in order to see if they need to get more money in order to expand a system that's not really working, that works so-so, in order to catch people with ammunition. All right, this is how Washington works. Johnston said, I talked to him about this, and he said, a government study on how to implement ammunition background checks and how to use the NICS system to accomplish this goal is a massive infringement on gun owners' rights. He said there are all kinds of problems with the NICS system and getting false positives. So applying that to ammunition will lead to a right delayed, which is a right denied. I will say I talked to Aiden on the phone when I interviewed him. He talks so fast and he couldn't believe I take such good notes. So that's just a little sidebar in my reporting. I'm a really quick note taker when I'm on the phone. I don't like to record people, even if I tell them, because then I have to go back and transcribe it myself. And I've been transcribing my whole life and I'm just so sick of it. So I just take notes. That if you ever wondered how I get these quotes, I talk to people on the phone and take little fast notes. Anyway, the third, there's two more provisions in this bill. The third is they want the study to find out how often countries with similar requirements have implemented such policies and their effectiveness at preventing unauthorized access to ammunition. And then I asked Aiden about this, and he's like, all those countries with the Second Amendment? And I was like, very good point. Yeah, we're not going to have our government looking into what Russia does to keep away the ammunition. We could call the Ukraine. They would probably have a really good plan right now that we would follow in getting citizens ammunition, because that is the goal of the Second Amendment, is for us to resist tyranny, as Congressman Cline said. But you can tell from this bill that they're going to call someplace like Australia, which has a federal ban on everything. Finally, they want the study to look into what obstacles, if any, have state or local governments encountered in their efforts to implement background checks for ammunition purchases. So they want them to go to the states that have already, and there are some, I think it's California, New Jersey, and most recently New York passed this bill. New York's is even broader. They are putting a complete database on anybody who has ammunition and what ammunition. I mean, it's like crazy stuff that's going on in New York right now. I think by the end of it, it will eventually get overturned in the court, because that is not along the lines of the Supreme Court's recent decision in Bruin. But it is a crazy law that they have right now. So those states, they want the federal government to look at the states to figure out almost stop the states from being able to do it. which is not how our system works. We don't use the federal government to look to the states to figure out what could stop them from doing something on the federal level. We look to the states to make their own laws, and they are more than happy to. Some of them have this ridiculous law on getting background checks for ammo. I would love to, if you ever know about anyone who got a background check for ammo, was caught, and didn't commit a crime, I'd love to hear that story. I sincerely doubt it exists because I don't think the criminals are doing this. But however, that's what it is. Chances of, and then I talked more my story about the chances of it passing on Capitol Hill, where this is going next, and for paid subscribers, some more of my analysis of the situation is at the end of my story. So that's all I'm going to do for YouTube today. Thank you for subscribing. As you noticed, some of you did. I finally hit 1,000 subscribers, which was super exciting because I think I had 600 a week ago. So I'm excited. And please leave me a comment. I'm trying to respond to all of them. I may have to do it in one long couple of hours, but I will respond to all of your comments. And please share this with your friends, and I will see you next time. Thank you.